What if the person you dismissed as just a janitor turned out to be one of Wall Street's most legendary investors? That's exactly what happened to tech mogul Bradley Chen, a 42-year-old CEO who thought he knew everything about money and success. Every morning, as Bradley strutted through the marble lobby of his Manhattan headquarters in his $1,000 suits, he barely noticed Elena Rodriguez quietly mopping the floors. She'd been there for 3 years, arriving before dawn and leaving after sunset, invisible to most executives who saw her as just part of the furniture. But Elena had a secret that would shake Bradley's world to its core. One ordinary Tuesday morning, when the stock market was crashing and Bradley's company was hemorrhaging millions, this quiet woman in her cleaning uniform would offer him advice that seemed impossible to believe. What happened next would change everything Bradley thought he knew about wisdom, respect, and where true knowledge really comes from. Where are you watching from tonight? Bradley Chen had built his tech empire from nothing, or so he loved to tell anyone who'd listen. At 42, he commanded a workforce of 800 employees and lived in a penthouse that overlooked Central Park. His company, NextGen Solutions, specialized in financial software that promised to revolutionize how people invested their money. Bradley prided himself on being a self-made success story, though he'd conveniently forgotten about the substantial loan his wealthy uncle had provided to get him started. Every morning, Bradley would march through the office like a general inspecting his troops. His employees scattered when they saw him coming, knowing that his temper could flare at the smallest imperfection. He demanded excellence from everyone, but showed little patience for those he considered beneath his intellectual level. To Bradley, the world was divided into 2 types of people: the successful ones who mattered, and everyone else who didn't. Elena Rodriguez had been cleaning the NextGen building for 3 years. At 65, she moved with the quiet efficiency of someone who'd learned to make herself invisible. Her uniform was always pressed, her gray hair neatly pulled back, and her cleaning cart meticulously organized. She knew every corner of the 30-story building, every executive's habits, and every conversation that echoed through the halls after hours. What nobody knew was that Elena had once commanded trading floors worth billions of dollars. She'd retired 20 years earlier as one of Wall Street's most respected portfolio managers, but she'd never told anyone at NextGen. After her husband's death 5 years ago, she'd taken the cleaning job not for the money, but for the human connection. The quiet work gave her peace, and she genuinely enjoyed taking care of people, even if they didn't notice her. Bradley's troubles began on a Monday morning in March. The market had been volatile for weeks, and NextGen's stock price was sliding dangerously. Their biggest client, Meridian Bank, was threatening to cancel their contract after some software glitches had cost them millions in trading losses. Bradley paced his corner office, shouting into his phone at analysts and programmers, demanding someone fix the problems that seemed to be multiplying by the hour. During her evening rounds, Elena often overheard Bradley's frantic phone calls. She listened as he berated his team for failing to predict market movements, watched him throw reports across his desk in frustration, and noticed how his stress was affecting everyone around him. His assistant, Patricia, had started bringing antacid tablets to work. The younger developers looked exhausted and defeated. Elena remembered those feelings from her own trading days. She'd lived through market crashes, technological failures, and the constant pressure of managing other people's fortunes. She recognized the signs of a leader who'd lost perspective, someone so focused on proving his own brilliance that he'd stopped listening to wisdom from unexpected places. On Tuesday morning, as Elena emptied the trash in Bradley's office, she overheard him shouting at his chief financial officer about their plummeting stock price. His company was losing $3 million a day, and the board was demanding answers. Bradley slammed his fist on his desk, sending his coffee cup crashing to the floor. As Elena quietly cleaned up the spilled coffee, she couldn't help but notice the financial reports scattered across his desk. The numbers told a story she'd seen countless times before, and she knew exactly what was about to happen next. The next morning brought devastating news. NextGen stock had dropped another 15% overnight, and 3 major clients had called emergency meetings to discuss their concerns. Bradley stood in the conference room, his usually perfect hair disheveled, his expensive suit wrinkled from sleeping in his office. Dark circles shadowed his eyes as he faced a room full of worried executives and board members. "The market's being irrational," Bradley insisted, his voice strained. Our software is solid. This is just temporary turbulence. We need to double down on our current strategy and wait for the storm to pass. His chief technology officer, James, shifted uncomfortably in his chair. Bradley, maybe we should consider that the market is trying to tell us something. Our algorithms haven't adapted to the new trading patterns. The old models aren't working anymore. Bradley's face flushed with anger. I didn't build this company by listening to market panic. I trust data, not emotions. We're staying the course. After the tense meeting, Elena arrived for her afternoon cleaning shift. She found Bradley alone in his office, staring blankly at multiple computer screens showing nothing but red numbers. Financial news channels droned in the background, their reporters analyzing the broader market downturn that was affecting tech companies across the board. Elena quietly began dusting his bookshelf, filled with business biographies and investment guides that Bradley had collected to project an image of financial sophistication. As she worked, she couldn't help but overhear his phone conversation with his wife. "Jennifer, I know what I'm doing. This company is my life's work. I can't just change everything because of a few bad weeks." His voice cracked slightly. "The board is pressuring me to bring in outside consultants. Can you imagine? After everything I've built here, they want strangers telling me how to run my own company." When he hung up, Elena noticed his hands were trembling as he reached for his coffee. She'd seen this before in her Wall Street days. Brilliant people who'd become so attached to their own theories that they couldn't see the forest for the trees. In her experience, pride was often the most expensive mistake any investor could make. As Elena moved closer to clean his desk, she noticed a particular financial report that made her pause. The numbers revealed a pattern that she'd encountered decades ago, during the dot-com crash. She recognized the warning signs that Bradley's team was apparently missing: the over-reliance on historical data, the failure to account for changing market psychology, and the dangerous assumption that past success guaranteed future results. Unable to stay silent any longer, Elena cleared her throat gently. "Excuse me, Mr. Chen? I couldn't help but notice your reports there. Have you considered that maybe the market isn't being irrational? Sometimes when everyone's selling, there's a reason we can't see right away." Bradley looked up, startled to realize someone had been listening to his private conversation. His eyes narrowed as he saw Elena standing there with her cleaning supplies, her uniform marking her as someone who couldn't possibly understand the complexities of his business. "I appreciate your concern," Bradley said with barely concealed condescension, "but I think I can handle my own company's financial strategy. Maybe you should focus on cleaning, and I'll focus on running a multi-million-dollar business." Elena's expression remained calm, but something flickered in her eyes, a depth of knowledge that Bradley was too proud to recognize. If this moment touched your heart, please give the video a thumbs up. The stage was set for a collision between arrogance and wisdom that would change everything. By Thursday, NextGen's crisis had reached catastrophic proportions. The company's stock price had lost 40% of its value in less than 2 weeks. Meridian Bank had officially terminated its contract, citing fundamental flaws in NextGen's risk assessment capabilities. 3 other major clients followed suit, and the financial press was beginning to circle like vultures. Bradley had barely slept in 72 hours. His office had become a war room, littered with empty coffee cups, crumpled papers, and the remnants of hastily eaten meals. His usually immaculate appearance had deteriorated into wrinkled shirts and 5 o'clock shadow. The confident CEO who'd once commanded respect through intimidation now looked like a man drowning in his own creation. During an emergency board meeting, the inevitable conversation finally happened. Board Chairman Robert Hartwell, a silver-haired veteran of countless corporate battles, delivered the ultimatum with surgical precision. "Bradley, we need to discuss bringing in a turnaround specialist. Someone with experience managing companies through severe market corrections. The board has lost confidence in the current leadership's ability to navigate this crisis." Bradley felt his world crashing down. "Robert, you know what this company means to me. It's not just a business, it's my legacy. Everything I've worked for, everything I've sacrificed. You can't just hand it over to some stranger who doesn't understand our vision." The board isn't questioning your passion, Robert replied gently. We're questioning your objectivity. Sometimes the people closest to a problem can't see the solution. That evening, as Elena made her rounds, she found Bradley slumped in his chair, holding a framed photo of his company's IPO celebration. His eyes were red-rimmed, and his voice was barely above a whisper when he spoke to the empty office. Dad, I don't know what you'd think of me now. I promised I'd build something that would last, something that would make you proud. But maybe I was just fooling myself. Maybe I'm not as smart as I thought I was. Elena paused in her cleaning, remembering her own father's advice from decades ago. Mija, the market doesn't care about your ego. It only cares about truth. She'd learned that lesson the hard way during her first major loss in 1987, when her stubborn refusal to admit a mistake had cost her clients millions. Watching Bradley's pain, Elena felt a deep empathy. She recognized the crushing weight of responsibility, the fear of letting down everyone who'd believed in you, and the terrible loneliness of leadership during a crisis. She'd been where he was now, and she knew that sometimes the hardest thing for a successful person to do was ask for help. As Elena emptied his wastepaper basket, she noticed several resignation letters that Bradley had apparently started writing but couldn't bring himself to finish. One began, to the board of directors, after careful consideration, I believe it's time for NextGen to have leadership that can guide it through these challenging times. Bradley suddenly looked up, as if sensing her presence. Elena, can I ask you something? Do you think I'm a failure? I mean, you see me here every day. You probably think I'm just another arrogant executive who got too big for his britches. Elena met his eyes directly. Mr. Chen, failure isn't falling down. Failure is refusing to get back up and learn from the fall. Have you ever faced something like this? Let us know in the comments. The moment of truth was approaching, and everything would depend on whether Bradley was finally ready to listen. Bradley stared at Elena, something in her voice making him pause. There was a quiet authority there, a calmness that seemed incongruous with her humble cleaning uniform. For the first time in weeks, he found himself actually listening instead of just waiting to respond. What I think, Elena said carefully, setting down her cleaning supplies, is that you're trying to solve a 2024 problem with 2010 thinking. The market has fundamentally changed, but your algorithms haven't adapted to account for social media sentiment, cryptocurrency influences, or the new generation of algorithmic traders. Bradley blinked in surprise. How do you know about algorithmic trading? Elena smiled gently. Mr. Chen, I spent 35 years on Wall Street. I started as a junior analyst in 1982 and retired in 2004 as the head portfolio manager for Steinberg & Associates. During my career, I managed over $12 billion in assets and guided clients through 4 major market corrections, including Black Monday, the dot-com crash, and the early stages of what would become the 2008 crisis. The words hit Bradley like a physical blow. He stared at this woman he'd dismissed as just a janitor for 3 years, his mind reeling. That's impossible. Elena Rodriguez, wait. His eyes widened as recognition dawned. The Elena Rodriguez? The one they called the Market Whisperer? You're her. I prefer to think of myself as someone who learned to listen, Elena replied. After my husband Carlos passed away, I needed something to keep me busy and connected to people. This job gives me peace, and I enjoy taking care of this building and the people in it. But I've been watching your company's situation, and I recognize the patterns. Bradley's legs felt weak. Elena Rodriguez was legendary on Wall Street. Her predictive accuracy during market volatility was unmatched, and her clients had not only survived multiple crashes but had often emerged stronger. The financial press had written dozens of articles trying to decode her investment philosophy. Why didn't you tell me who you were? Bradley asked, his voice barely audible. Would you have listened 3 days ago if I'd walked into your office and introduced myself as a retired investment manager? Elena asked knowingly. Or would you have assumed I was past my prime and dismissed my advice anyway? Bradley felt heat rise to his cheeks, knowing she was absolutely right. What you said about the market patterns, can you explain what you meant? Elena nodded and moved closer to his computer screens. Your software is brilliant for traditional market conditions, but it's not accounting for the emotional volatility that social media creates. Look at this data pattern here. She pointed to a section of his trading algorithm. You're using historical models that assume rational decision-making, but today's markets are driven by fear and social proof in ways we never saw before my retirement. So what do you suggest? Bradley asked, his pride finally cracking open to allow genuine humility. You need to incorporate behavioral analytics and real-time sentiment analysis. The solution isn't about predicting what the market should do based on fundamentals. It's about predicting what nervous humans will actually do when they're scared and connected to each other through technology. For the first time in days, Bradley felt a spark of hope. Could you help me fix this? I know I don't deserve your help after how I've treated you, but my company, my employees, they're all counting on me. Elena looked at this broken man who'd finally found the courage to ask for help. If you've been enjoying this story, subscribe to our channel for more heartwarming tales. Sometimes the most important lessons come from the most unexpected teachers. The transformation at NextGen Solutions didn't happen overnight, but it happened completely. Elena agreed to work as a special consultant, helping Bradley's team understand the psychological factors that their purely mathematical models had been missing. She insisted on maintaining her cleaning duties as well, explaining that the quiet evening work helped her think through complex problems. Within 6 weeks, NextGen had developed a revolutionary new algorithm that combined traditional financial analysis with real-time behavioral data. Their software could now predict market movements by analyzing not just numbers, but the emotional patterns of millions of investors expressing their fears and hopes across social media platforms. The results were extraordinary. NextGen's corrected software helped Meridian Bank recover from their previous losses and generated 20% higher returns than their old system. Word spread quickly through the financial community, and soon NextGen had a waiting list of clients eager to use their groundbreaking behavioral analytics platform. But the real transformation was in Bradley himself. The arrogant executive who'd once dismissed employees' ideas had become a leader who truly listened. He instituted weekly sessions where any employee, regardless of their position, could share insights about the company's direction. He'd learned that wisdom could come from anywhere, from junior programmers who understood social media trends, from customer service representatives who heard clients' real concerns, and yes, from cleaning staff who observed everything with quiet intelligence. Elena never moved to the executive floor or demanded recognition for her contributions. She preferred her behind-the-scenes role, though Bradley made sure she received substantial compensation for her consulting work. She used much of the money to establish a scholarship fund for underprivileged students studying finance, naming it the Carlos Rodriguez Memorial Fund after her late husband. 6 months after their first real conversation, Bradley found Elena in the lobby one evening, carefully tending to the plants she'd placed around the reception area. He'd brought her a gift, a beautifully bound first edition of Benjamin Graham's The Intelligent Investor. I wanted to thank you again, Bradley said. Not just for saving my company, but for teaching me what real leadership looks like. You could have let me fail. After how disrespectfully I treated you, you had every right to watch me crash and burn. Elena smiled, accepting the book with genuine pleasure. Mr. Chen, my father used to say that we're all just walking each other home. Sometimes you help someone, sometimes someone helps you. That's how the world stays balanced. Please, call me Bradley. And I hope you know that you'll always be family here at NextGen. This company wouldn't exist without your wisdom. As they stood together in the lobby where their journey had begun, Bradley realized that his greatest success hadn't been building a multimillion-dollar company. It had been learning to see the extraordinary wisdom that existed in ordinary places, and having the humility to learn from someone he'd almost overlooked completely. Elena Rodriguez had taught him that true wealth wasn't measured in stock prices or market valuations. It was measured in the connections you make, the respect you show, and the willingness to keep learning from everyone you meet, regardless of what uniform they happen to be wearing. If you enjoyed this story, please remember to like, leave a comment with your thoughts, and subscribe for more heartwarming tales. Thank you for joining us on this journey of discovery, respect, and the wisdom that surrounds us when we're humble enough to see it.